Welcome back, YouTube, to another shoe review by Unclesole, and that's me, where we do shoe review for uncles by uncle. Today we'll be looking at the ANTA Kai 2s, the signature basketball shoe from ANTA for Kyrie Irving, our Uncle Drew, who unfortunately is still recovering from injuries at the start of the season. So far, the season's been pretty good, and that trade, not so good. Hopefully, we'll see him back on the court soon. Good luck, Uncle Drew. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to the channel if you like what I'm doing. That will tell YouTube that I should keep doing what I'm doing and that you're looking at my videos. So without further ado, let's talk about the ANTA Kai 2s. The ANTA Kai 2s are the second signature shoe from ANTA for the Kyries, the first one being the Kai 1s. I didn't like the Kai 1s much, and we'll talk about why. Kai 2s are a little heavier. They're about 490 grams for size 10. And the heavier weight is for good reason, and we'll talk about that when it comes to the fit. Strange fit with these shoes. It should fit true to size. At first I got the 9.5s and it fit 9.5s. However, because of the heel issue that I will talk about in a second, I went half size up, and now I love these shoes. And as you see, these are the Artisan Court, the limited edition for the first print for Kai 2s. They are not cheap, but they are definitely one of my favorite. Yes, it looks funky, especially when I put in the fuzzy laces. But, you know, in terms of their performance, these are definitely top notch. They are wide foot friendly. The forefoot is actually pretty nice, and because of the memory foam inside, it actually expands. It will take a little bit of breaking in, but if you're wide foot, go half size up or maybe even slightly wide foot, you can go true to size. Price is about 120 USD, 125 USD I think actually, and if you convert that, it's about $190 Canadian. Let's get right into PAT, the player assist tech for the Kai 2s. The foam is the same foam as the Kai 1s, the Nitro Edge, full length Nitro Edge. They are really good. The difference is that this time they have surrounded the Nitro Edge with a dual density carrier. Also, the tuning for the Nitro Edge is different from the Kai 1s. The reason why I don't like the Kai 1s, and you can see the fully exposed outer with the Nitro Edge foam, is that they tuned this to be too soft. Step-in comfort for the Kai 1s are great, but the problem is when you put any power into the shoe, with the exception of the very tip of your forefoot, everything else is mushy. I felt impact protection was great, but every time I take a step, I felt like I'm stepping in mud. I'm kind of fighting the shoe to get enough power to push off. I think the Kai 2 is more to my liking. The Nitro Edge is tuned very firm. A lot of people don't like that. I think a lot of Western reviewers that have reviewed this shoe have said the cushioning, it doesn't even feel like it's there. But when you actually jump and land, the impact protection is just as good as the Kai 1s, because the thickness for Kai 2s and Kai 1s, the Nitro Edge, is the exact same, or almost the exact same. The difference is this is a lot firmer. I think it's also because of the carrier foam caging for this shoe that this shoe actually turns out to be a lot more firm inside, a lot more responsive, and that is why I like this shoe. It's more Kyrie-like. In addition, the composite carbon fiber shank, just like the Kai 1s, allows you to go from heel to forefoot. Power transference is great. Torsional stability is great. It's really hard to see. You can see when I twist this, there is a natural bending point. The springboard effect is there, but overall the carbon fiber shank does its job. It's not your full length, which I do like because of the way I play. So with the full length supercritical foam and a carbon fiber shank and a lot of little detail design that we'll talk about in a second, I would give the PAT, the player assisting tech, a A grade for the Kai 2s. So let's move on to Unclesole's 4 pillars. Let's get started right away with the traction. The traction pattern is very similar to your Kai 1s. Stamp-in pattern, same rubber, or at least I think it's the exact same rubber. I mean, why change it? Because the Kai 1s, once you break them in, has incredible traction. Like clean quartz, dusty quartz, it doesn't matter. Same with the Kai 2s, except we don't even need to break them in anymore. I never broke mine in, not my 9.5 and not my 10. Second step in the court, the clean quartz, squeaky, crispy traction. Dusty quartz, same, beautiful, crispy traction. However, it does like to eat dust a lot. it gets really dusty if you go on a dusty court. It doesn't affect the traction much. Cushioning. The Nitro Edge is tuned a lot stiffer, like I said, and that has impacted the stepping comfort. Definitely not as plushy and comfortable as the Kai ones, but a whole lot more responsive. It's a lot more Kyrie-like than your Kai ones, I feel like, even though there are certain design points that I question why Kyrie would want it that way. Moving on to stability. So the stiffer foam, and to be honest, I say high stack, it's not that high of a stack of Nitro Edge. So the shoe is very low center of gravity. The outer and the inner allows for a lot more expansion, so it pushes, when you push lateral steps and medial steps, it does go pretty low to the ground. So low center of gravity, so even though there is no actual outrigger, you don't really have any risk of rolling over. Biggest design feature, if you want to call it that way, for this shoe to increase stability and lower the chance of rolling ankle is to create an eversion. Some players don't like that eversion. It creates a lot of stress to their Achilles, to their calf, to their knees. They don't like wearing shoes with eversion, and this shoe does evert inwards so that you're not rolling your ankle. That's one of the design features of this shoe because it doesn't actually have an outrigger. So if you are that type of player that has discomfort or pain with shoe with a higher eversion degree, then yeah, maybe you don't want these. Another thing is, if you are the type of player that really likes to land like this, then these shoes might be a little more dangerous because there is a tipping point in the shoe itself where if you extend further than that point, this shoe does roll over because it doesn't have a hard outrigger. Lockdown. This shoe, I love the lockdown system. It has wires in the inner. I don't know if I can show that. Maybe I'll do a B-roll for this. There are wires in the inners that ties to the lacing system, really ties that shoe down, and you need that. Do you know why? Because instead of the modern booty style, where it's like a thin layer inside that kind of wraps around your foot so that it locks your foot down, the Kai 2 actually features a old school system where the entire shoe is actually a lot of memory foam. What that does is a thick layer of memory foam. It allows for a better grip on your foot eventually when you break it in because there's so much foam, it kind of hugs your foot. Number two, when you have something like this, you really could just crank it down and tie this entire shoe onto your foot so that the lockdown for this is amazing. So you will never find yourself shifting out of the footbed. The downside of something like this is that there's so much memory foam, it increases the weight. That's why the Kai 2s are heavier. And another major issue with this shoe, and perhaps the most critical problem with this shoe, is the heel. So the heel also features a lot of memory foam and a really weird high heel design. When I got the 9.5s, everything fits beautifully. However, after 2 sessions, I felt a huge discomfort in my heel, especially my Achilles. This issue was actually first discovered by a Chinese reviewer, Enzo. If you can read Chinese or listen to Chinese, I definitely would recommend you to support him. What this system does is that this part actually kind of grabs onto, and I'm not a science guy, but I will try my best to articulate this point. On your Achilles, there is a wrapping to wrap all your tendons together. It's called the superior extensor retinaculum. That piece of muscle, that piece of fiber around your heel, it allows for movements. Most of the shoe allows that to shift around so you don't have that problem. These shoes, because of how good the lockdown is, it actually grabs that fiber and tightens it around your ankle. It creates a lot of friction when you're moving, shifting, especially when you're on this shoe, you can shift around very easily. When you're shifting, it creates a lot of friction on that fiber. And you'll feel that pain and soreness afterwards if your heel isn't perfectly aligned. Because my heel and Enzo's heel isn't perfectly aligned with how the lockdown system is, that fiber ends up kind of hitting right in the lockdown part of the shoe. So we're rubbing against the heel counter, which creates a lot of pain. What I did was I ended up getting the 10s to try them out. And that problem went away. Because with the 10s, you have a little more space, and maybe the shoe is tiny bit higher up. All of that went away and this shoe became like absolutely perfect for me. If you can, I would 100% suggest you to try these shoe on first. However, I would say that when I tried the 9.5, it actually didn't have that problem when I was walking around the house. It was only after I played like 2 sessions or a session that started to become a problem. So if you want to be safe, I would suggest you to go half size up. And there's another reason why you go half size up, and we'll talk about that in the fit as well, is that the forefoot is a very C shape. If you take a look, I guess Kyrie's foot is very C shape. So when you go into transition, and again, and we're talking about in transition, this creates a lot of pressure on this side and gives my side of the feet a lot of pain. And it took a while to break that in the 9.5s. The 10s didn't have that problem at all. The second I got in, it was perfect because you got more space, right? So because of that, I would fully suggest that if your feet is in C shape, I would go half size up. So with all that said, if you go half size up, or if your feet actually fits the mold of the shoe, I would rate this an S grade in the Unclesole 4-pillar. So performance of the Kai 2s. Saying a lot of praises for this shoe already, despite some glaring flaws. The heel to toe transition for these shoes are silky smooth. So I talked about the motion engineering. The motion engineering for this shoe is to really help you take those strides and those lateral and side steps that Kyrie loves to take advantage of. So any step that looks like this and any step that looks like this, it's perfect. And because of this steel weight in the front, you can see here, when you do press down on this side, you will never feel any interference because this compresses in. The problem with this shoe is the lateral step, specifically the mid-foot lateral step. I don't study exactly how Kyrie strikes his moves, but my guess is that his foot is usually a 4-foot strike. And with a 4-foot strike lateral step, this is fine. Like this shoe, this really pretty design. I actually like this design a lot. But if you are a 4-foot striker or a mid-foot striker that relies on your lateral steps hitting this point, you will feel significant interference with this. For some reason, this is a very hard rubber. And this point, whenever this shoe gets into this point, it always forces the shoe to align straight. It's probably a safety feature for Kyrie so he doesn't roll his ankles, but this is a very annoying interference when you're trying to take those lateral steps and all of a sudden your foot just forces it right down to the floor. So if you are a mid-foot lateral step striker, you will feel that interference. If you're 4-foot, this is fine. But because of this point, I'm gonna have to deduct some points. I would say the transition for the shoe is an A grade. Material is nice. So these ones are faux leather, this special colorway, right? Definitely no breathability, but I love leather shoes, you guys know. So I would say the material is amazing. Even the ones that are not leather, the ones that are TPU weave and whatnot, they are actually higher quality TPU weave. So I would say the material is probably a S grade for me. Just overall how beautiful the shoe is put together. Lots of details and a lot of materials is used, and a lot of materials used very well. The memory foam inside is amazing. So breathability, unfortunately, again with the memory foam, despite how many holes you have on here, despite how many holes you have on the side, it's not great. It's not as bad as the AJ40s. I would say in terms of heat dispersion, it's actually pretty good. I don't know what kind of foam they use, and maybe these holes actually do something, but you never really heat up in this shoe. Like you never feel like, oh, I gotta take these shoes off because it's so damn hot. Of course, is that heat may not be retaining, but the moisture doesn't go anywhere. Breathability, I would probably give this a C grade. So style, artist on court, you like it, you don't like it. I feel like this colorway really speaks to the personality of Kyrie. I'm not gonna rate style, but honestly, what do you think? Do you like this style, artist on court? Do you like Kyrie's expression on his shoe? If you do, leave a comment down below. If you don't, you can blast Kyrie down below as well. Price to performance, $125 US. These shoes are perform well beyond that. As long as you don't have that heel problem, or you go half a size up, I feel like the value for this shoe is right there. I would give price to performance a S grade. And then overall, I think the Kai 2s are a wonderful shoe. If you're the type that really likes to strike lateral movements that are shifty, but you still want a little bit of bounce because you like to go in the air and pull out the crazy acrobatics that Kyrie does, then you will really like this shoe. If you really need to feel the court, or you need something that is a full-length carbon fiber plate, yeah, you probably want to look elsewhere. This shoe is more of a balanced, invisible shoe than it is something that is going to bounce you out of the gym. I would give this a solid A+. At the end of the day, it is a great shoe, but there are some glaring flaws that you have to work around. So I can give it the seal of approval, but I can't give it that it is one of the best shoes. However, I do like these. These are my favorite backup shoe. Anytime that I'm testing a new shoe, whatever I am testing, the shoe that I have in my bag, in case something is wrong with the shoe that I'm testing, these are usually my backup. So who do I recommend the Kai 2s to? Kyrie fans, obviously. The shoe has nothing to do with his injury. Unfortunately, that was a freak accident that really didn't land well with his step, so unfortunately that's how it is. But I would say Kyrie fans definitely want the Kai 2s. This is a much better shoe than the Kai 1s in terms of how closely related to Kyrie's playstyle. The Kai 1 speed and the Kai 2 speeds are also pretty good, but I had issues with the Kai 1 speed's traction, and I also had a little problem with their cushioning. I think these are actually better than the Kai 1 speed. If you're a shifty guard that doesn't actually need to touch the ground, or you really want a responsive shoe, the Kai 2s are it as well. You can also bounce out of the ground pretty well in these shoes, so I would recommend to shifty guards who also likes to jump. People who like to pull up not pure shooters, but likes a lot of movement before they go up for a shot. The bounce back from this shoe in the forefoot gives you a really wonderful feeling, and then the rest of the shoe allows you to really shift into your moves really well. It doesn't do too much for your chill ankles. The cushioning is pretty firm, so it's not very super comfortable. It is mostly an invisible shoe, so if you really want like a step in comfort shoe and that doesn't bother you or anything, you might want to look maybe even back to the Kai 1s, which is a better shoe in terms of that kind of comfort than the Kai 2s. This is more of a performance speedy shoe. It is great for change of pace player. You want to shift to a faster pace, that responsiveness is there, but it also allows you to stop at a dime and go slow. The lack of a full-length carbon fiber doesn't impede you because you're not fighting the shoe because the shoe wants to give you a lot of energy, but suddenly you just want to stop. Your steps are a lot easier when you're in these because it really does give you a little bit of everything while being invisible. The only ones that I would not recommend to, if you are a mid-foot striker, change of pace player, you'll run into a lot of this thing eating into your steps. So maybe you don't want that if you're that type of player. It's hard to tell because you won't feel that until you actually wear a shoe that actually has a lot of interference mid-foot. So it is the bouncy shoe as well. Again, it's firm, but the forefoot actually gives a lot of rebound to the shoe. Nitro Edge is actually a very bouncy cushion as well. ANTA does still use it, but I think they're moving away from it on the cheaper shoe. Anyways, this is the end of my review for the Kai 2s. Again, this is one of my favorite shoe ever since I laced them up and ever since I got half size up on these. Leave a comment down below if you like the Kai 2s or you tried the Kai 2s. Until next time, remember to stretch.